You know, I mentioned my brother was in the Vietnam War, never really wanted to talk about it. Did you find growing up that your parents didn't really want to talk about the experience? I mean, is that kind of a similar theme in your life? And did that kind of send you on this direction in a sense?
I think partly. I think my experience was perhaps a little bit different because my parents and I did not quite share the same language. I mean, they only spoke Vietnamese for the most part. At home, they only spoke Vietnamese. I mostly spoke English, so we had Vietnamese in common, but it was a very limited Vietnamese. And so that language and cultural miscommunication was there. But also, I think they only wanted me to know certain things. So I got glimpses of their experience in Vietnam, but never anything fully adequate. And the glimpses that I got were terrible, stories about poverty and famine and the refugee experience and war. So I wanted to know more, but it was very difficult. They told me what they wanted me to know when on their own terms, but they never wanted to answer my questions. So of course that relationship made me want to inquire and to write stories to make up for what I didn't know.
In the absence of voices like yours on the scene, what does that do to a society? I mean, that they only see this through the prism of like, oh, it's a military story, it's an American story. It's a much larger story than that.
Well, I think the Sympathizer and everything that I write is very much about Vietnam and the relationship between Vietnam and the United States and France. But it's like saying Graham Greene only writes about Cuba, Graham Greene only writes about England or something. I read Graham Greene, who's an inspiration for the Sympathizer, because I think his stories also tell us something about the human condition as well. And so we tell stories about the human condition in very specific places, whether it's New York City or Saigon or Los Angeles. So I think that's what that does. But at another level, I think what I want to stress is that literature is art and literature is entertainment, but literature are also stories. And stories matter not just for purposes of art and entertainment. Stories matter because they shape our world and what we understand of it. And so the United States got into Vietnam because it had a very particular narrative about itself and the world, which did not include Vietnam. So it got into Vietnam even though it understood nothing about Vietnam. And the results were devastating for the Vietnamese, Laotian, Cambodians, and Americans. And I feel that Americans did not take the right stories out of Vietnam either, which is why then the United States went into Iraq and Afghanistan, countries in which the United States also knew nothing, I think. So the stories that we tell ourselves have tremendous impact on how we interact with the world, both as individuals, but also as nations.